Good morning. It's Myra with Boutique Paint. It's been a while since I've been able to do a video. Today we're going to do a earring holder made from a frame, and I'm using this piece of metal. I happen to have this metal from a different project. I picked this up at the hardware store. They have all different kinds of designs, but I had done earring holders like a number of years ago, and so I had a little bit of this left, so I wanted to go ahead and use this. You could also use screen for like your front porch screen. Well, don't cut up your front porch screen, obviously, but unless you want a new one. But yeah, screening would work also. So I went ahead and painted the back side, and now I'm going to paint the front side, and I'm using a foam brush. And the reason why I'm using a foam brush is because I want to not get paint stuck in the holes. I want to just be able to glide over the top. I'm kind of angling the brush and going across. And I'm trying to match the frame. It's kind of a off-white. Some of you that follow me on Facebook and Instagram know that spending time at home, adult children came home, and all of a sudden the house, which I have been running my online business from for 7 years, our house got small, and I realized I needed to move my online shop out of the house. So we brought a building in, one of those sheds, and we set it up for my workspace. I am still working on trying to get it set up right so that I can do videos, so I can do better pictures for people, to show you different ideas. So still working on the best way to set it up. It's one of those things, it's like your kitchen when you set it up. How are you going to use it? And then you can design it. So we're kind of in that process still. As you can, I don't know if you can see, there's some paint in these holes. So I'm gonna just try to move it around with the brush, get the paint out of there. You can also just kind of clank it down or blow on it to get the paint out of the holes. So we're gonna let this dry, and then we will move on to the next section. So the metal now is dry, and I have to say I was being impatient, so I actually used the hairdryer to speed up the drying process on this. The stamp I'm using is, I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, Pavo, which is the peacock design, but I'm using the second sheet of this for the stamp. And I went ahead and put it on the thin mount. This is one of the original thin mounts before we had the lines on them. And you can cut those up. I'm sure you know this, but you could cut them up and use them then in smaller sheets. And I find that super helpful. So I have a number of them that I've actually cut up to use. So if you're using a smaller stamp, it's easier to have control over what you're working with and on. So I'm just gonna ink this up. I'm using black. I'll wipe off the extra that I went over. Now I tried stamping this originally, just the metal, and I found that the stamp didn't show up the way I wanted it to. So that's why I decided to go ahead and paint it. I was just kind of playing with the different ideas. So the paint does work better with this. So I'm just gonna kind of angle this on here. I'm hoping this design works well on this. I found that a little bit bulkier design, meaning these lines in here, work better because there is the open space. So you want your the design of the stamp to actually be able to leave a a decent looking impression. All right, I'm just gonna hold this in place and then I'm gonna lift it to see what we're looking like, and it's looking pretty good. So I'm hoping this stamp will look good once we lift it up, as far as the design of it. Not bad. All right, so this is the frame that I bought, and I got this at Hobby Lobby, and I wanted something that already had a stand, but I also did one where I made the stand, and I'll show you that here in a minute. And so you just slide that in. Oh, as far as cutting, I'm going to go back to that. This metal, it's a little bit tricky to cut. Grab out my tool here. This is what I use to cut it. And I just marked it out with a Sharpie from the internal frame that was in there as my template. And then I cut it with these guys. It is a little bit of a bear to cut. Sometimes your hardware store will cut stuff for you. So if you know what you're doing ahead of time, you could do that. Or if you're using the screen material, that stuff's really easy to cut. Don't use your scissors. You'll ruin your scissors. The other thing is once I got one side cut, because there's these little like perforated, I landed right on one of those with one of my cuts. And so I was just able to bend it back and forth, and then it just snapped right off. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to flip this over. And this particular one, I just now realized, doesn't have the little prongs. So we're going to lift that back out, and we're going to grab some glue. By the way, I'm working on this and it's not dry yet. Let this dry before you do this part. Otherwise you're going to have a smudgy mess. I've gotten lucky. So give me 1 second, I'm going to get some glue. Okay, got some glue. This is why you check your projects before you do them. Just going to put some glue on the edge. I wish I got my toothpick to do this. With the screen material, if you were to actually use like front porch screening, you're going to need to stretch it, which might, might be a little bit harder to manipulate. That's why I kind of like the idea of using the metal. You could build like a small frame to go inside this framing. So you would put the screen in, then put your wood pieces in, and then kind of pull it tight so that you have it sitting in there nice and good, because you don't want it to be saggy, obviously. This is stinky glue. This is the type you get high off of if you don't have the good ventilation. So we won't breathe deeply as we're doing this. So kind of making a mess too. Probably use hot glue. Sometimes I don't like using hot glue for stuff like this. Every now and then, it's a circumstance where it does get warm, then it separates. I mean, obviously it has to get really warm, but okay. So we're going to set this in, put it in that direction, and then we'll let it dry. I think I'm going to set something in there to kind of hold it into place. I'm going to flip it around so you can see what it looks like. And it turned out pretty nice. You could embellish the frame a little bit more with some of the molds. You could stamp on the frame to add a little bit of interest. I'm going to set this aside, and then I'm going to show you one of the other ones I made, and I give you some instruction on that. This one, I bought the frame, and same thing, I painted it, stamped it, and then I took a piece of wood for the base of it, and This was like a 1x, what's that, 1x3, 1x4, somewhere in there. Kind of a little bit longer than the frame itself. I wanted it to kind of match the frame. So in this case, I used a weathered gray to kind of give it a matching look. You could paint it and just have it two-toned if you don't have, you know, something that will match. You could also, if you got it like a wood grain, you could also use a little bit of vinegar and age it that way. And then I just glued it on. And on the back of this one, this is what I thought there was going to be on that one, is it has just these little clips that you bend over. So you just bend those over. And then you're done. And then you are set to go. I'll show you. And then you just put your earrings on. Great for gifts. And then, you know, if you got somebody that, like your mother-in-law that loves roses, you could stamp a rose on it. This is the new the boho stamp, which is great for younger, you know, kids, younger, you know, 20-somethings, 30-somethings. So just keep in mind who you're stamping for. But it's a great Christmas gift, holiday gift, with the holidays like right coming up quickly here on us. So thank you for joining us. And if you have any questions about these products, leave them in the comments. You can also get a hold of us through our website, which is www.boutiquepaint.com, and you can also order all the products there. Thanks for joining us.